Hi everybody, this is Jason Heires. This is another Essential Album Review. Today I'm going to talk about an album by Stephen Patrick Morrissey, or Morrissey as he's better known as the artist himself, or he's Moz or the Mozzer if you're a hardcore Morrissey fan. Morrissey started off as the lead vocalist of a really important 80s band, the Smiths. He's the vocalist on one of the classic 80s songs, How Soon Is Now. The other big member of the Smiths is Johnny Marr, and Morrissey and Marr had a pretty public split with one another, which created kind of a stink, and there was kind of some people that were either in the Morrissey or the Marr camp, depending on who you went with. Marr has recently put out some solo albums that have been good albums that are worth paying attention to. So if you get a chance to check out some of Johnny Marr's solo albums, I would recommend that you do it. Now the album I'm reviewing today is called Low in High School, and hopefully you can see the cover here. And this was released in 2017, and Morrissey has had a long sustained solo career since the Smiths broke up. He's had some quiet periods where he hasn't released any albums for a while. Because he's a very outspoken person, he's gotten into trouble with like British tabloids and things like that from time to time, and that's kind of curtailed his career a little bit. He did have a strong career renaissance with the You Are the Quarry album, which really brought him back into the limelight, at least briefly, with a couple of hit songs like The First in the Gang to Die and Irish Blood, English Heart. Now, Morrissey is a very outspoken individual. He's a vegan, and he will say things like eating meat is basically equivalent to mass murder. He's got some very strong opinions about things, and those strong opinions do come through on his albums quite a bit. So, and this album is a good Morrissey album. He's been working with Joe Ciccarelli as his producer, and Joe Ciccarelli has produced, I think, 4 more albums with Morrissey now, including the most recent one that I'm not reviewing called I'm Not a Dog on a Chain. That one I'm still kind of conflicted on. I haven't quite figured out how I feel about this album. Now, this album has some good songs, and it showcases the strength of Morrissey. Now, Morrissey is very, at his best, he's very witty. He's funny, he has some good observations, and he can make you think about things. But he can also be preachy, and he can also be a little bit overbearing. Now, this album starts off with My Love, I'd Do Anything For You, which is a pretty standard Morrissey song. It's not special, but it's not great. I Wish You Lonely is definitely one of the highlight tracks of this album. Basically, Morrissey kind of has a persona of like it's him against the world, and he doesn't really have anybody else. And he uses that persona very effectively, and he really projects a kind of aura that most people that feel like they're not in touch with other people can relate to. Morrissey has very dedicated fans. He may not have a lot of fans, but the really hardcore Morrissey fans are extremely into Morrissey, and they really identify with Morrissey as a person. To the point where seeing Morrissey in concert, which I was lucky to do once, is almost like going to a religious ceremony of some kind, because you have people in the crowd going up on stage and hugging him while he was singing, and all kinds of things that you don't normally see. Now, Jackie's Only Happy When He's Up on the stage, or When She's Up on the Stage, is another good example of a Morrissey song. Basically, he's talking about how there's Jackie, who's a character who's fundamentally unhappy because of something. So they're only happy when they're performing. And you can also kind of take it as a double meaning that, there are certain people that only really pretend to be what they are, or that they're always acting like they're happy when they're really not. Home is a Question Mark is an interesting song. Morrissey has always talked about from a sense of like isolation, like that he doesn't really have anybody else in his life. So that's and this song's kind of an extension of that theme that Morrissey has in several of his songs. Spent the Day in Bed is another good song, and this is about just taking time to take care of yourself, and also maybe not always dealing with all the wrongs in the world, or just taking a break from the world. Morrissey also has a common theme about being very distrustful of like news media and things like that. So that's a very common Morrissey theme as well. The rest of the album has some okay tracks. It's not like the greatest album. It has a solid consistency from song to song. I would probably rate it somewhere between like 3.5 and 4 stars if I was rating it somewhere between a good and to very good album, somewhere in that range. It's not a mind-blowingly great album, but it's solid from top to bottom, and it reflects Morrissey's strengths. It has interesting music. It does have some interesting insight and things like that. And another song that's kind of a nice cry for peace is the All the Young People Must Fall in Love. But the thing about Morrissey is, because he has such strong political views about things, there are some songs where he really gets out there and he talks about some things that I don't necessarily agree with in terms of his stances on things. One of those songs is called I Bury the Living, and it's written in the first person in terms of like a soldier. And basically, he paints a soldier in a very unflattering light, in terms of somebody that's kind of a misogynist that really just wants to hurt people, or like he says, honored mad cannon fodder. But what I've kind of learned about soldiers, at least in America, from the ones I've had interaction with, is that they're people that, they kind of are looking for a way out of their situation, and they see the army as a way to move forward and do something better with their lives. I have very, very rarely encountered anybody from the military that was, I joined the military so I could kill people, Maybe there are people like that, but I've yet to encounter them. I work in the IT field primarily, and most of the people, a good majority of people in IT are ex-military, and that's not what I've seen from my interactions from military people. The few that really had anything to do with actual combat definitely have a few scars from that. And it definitely is not something that you walk away from with just a complete callousness. I've never experienced that, So I have to disagree with that. But the thing is that, and this is kind of the most important thing and the point I really wanted to get at with this particular review, and the reason why I picked this album, is that just because an artist disagrees with you doesn't mean they don't have, skill as an artist, or that they don't have purpose. You don't have to agree with everything an art says. A lot of people put like artists and athletes up on some kind of pedestal, like they're superhuman or something. When in a lot of cases, in order to be that driven, to be so good at something that you put in all the work that has to be put in to get that good, that these people are not necessarily reflective of like an average person and an average person's ideas and things like that. Morrissey has very strong ideas and he's not afraid to express them, but I don't have to agree with his ideas, and just because I disagree with his ideas doesn't mean that I don't have to not respect him as an artist. I do respect Morrissey as an artist, and he has a plethora of really great songs. He is a great performer. There's a best of collection that is a really strong reflection. The You Are the Quarry album and the Ringleader of the Tormentors album I would recommend to anybody. Those are both really strong albums. There will be things that he talks about that you might not like if you're a conservative person, and I get that. But I think when you read it, when you look into it and you think about what he's trying to say, you can see that even if you don't agree with everything Morrissey has to say, that there's a lot of value there, and that having somebody who's not afraid to say what they think and share their opinions is actually a good thing, as long as, you know, you take it for what it is. It's not gospel, it's just a person talking about things, and, you know, you work it from there. So anyway, I know no demonstration this time, and maybe I got a little preachy this time, but I hope you enjoy these videos. Subscribe to me if you haven't subscribed before. Thank you, and have a great day. Goodbye, guys. Bye.